Hello and welcome to Paradigm Playbook, a podcast for entrepreneurs in the business of sports. Your hosts, Dave Kozak and Steve Cook, are business owners, successful entrepreneurs, sports enthusiasts, avid readers, and longtime friends. For years, they've read every business book on the market and built successful companies with what they've learned. This podcast will give you the critical takeaways in just 15 minutes a week. It's a quick and easy playbook for building a winning sports business. And now, here are your hosts, Dave and Steve.
We appreciate your feedback. If you enjoyed the podcast, please leave a review. If not, we'd still love to hear from you so we can improve. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Paradigm Playbook. I'm your host, Dave Kozak.
Of course you are. Good morning.
Alongside my co-host, Mr. Steve Cook.
This is fun, Dave. This is exciting stuff.
Yeah, today we're going to take another deep dive, well, deepish. We'll see how deep we can get into culture.
Yeah, and it's, as I was saying, I just finished writing an article. So anybody that wants a deeper dive, it'll be on Substack at some point that they can read it or on the website or wherever. But as I was writing, it got deeper and deeper and deeper. And there's more touch points to culture than you may think. Anyway, let's dig in one point at a time. We'll see where we go.
Yeah. So why don't you why don't you tee one up for us?
Okay. So I have like 5 or 6 points, but the first cultural touch point to me is an agreed upon growth mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So the growth mindset, and what makes it difficult is the growth mindset has to be growth of the company, growth of the culture, growth of the individual. And so I think any one of the three are very possible, but doing all together. So if you're the CEO and you're working on yourself growing, but you're not, as you say,
lifting while you climb.
If you're not doing that, then it's not a true communal growth concept.
Without question.
So I think that's the key is, what are you doing to grow the individuals, and what's going to come out of that will grow the company.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And we spend a lot of time in these walls on culture and trying to understand. And, so we have our sort of what we call paradigm pillars, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's to always do the right thing, lead with a growth mindset, and to be easy to do business with. Right? Those are the structured things that we focus on in the culture. And so part of it is you always have to be improving the self, right? And as a leader, you have to do that. But then you have to help others improve. And I think there's a distinction that needs to be made there in sort of the cultural piece of leadership, which is I can easily tell someone what to do, right? But I prefer to lead people so that they can figure out what they should do. And rather than micromanage or whatever other negative connotation phrase you can use there, my culture is to try and help people lift themselves up, right? Because I think it's vitally important in business. And I think a lot of times you can suffocate people at the same time in trying to grow or preach the growth, but not actually do it in a way that is constructive. So I think a growth mindset and a growth-minded organization is a must. I don't know that everybody has that in their company.
I think they definitely don't. And the problem is it's easy to get alignment with those that are of the same mind as you.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as there's someone of the opposite point of view, then every time, you push the throttle forward, you're throwing another anchor because you're getting separation amongst. So that's where I was saying the growth mindset needs to be communal. Everybody has to grow together, or you have to find separation. It doesn't mean, you're getting rid of bad people. But if they're not of the same mindset, then you're going to get to a point where you've left a gap in your organization that you haven't prepared to fill.
Correct.
So that's where your lift while you climb comes in, is that you're constantly lifting those, everybody in the organization. And I think, your 3 paradigm pillars are, it hits on my second bullet point, which was, core values. Mm-hmm. And this was a quick story. I was doing a corporate offsite. Does anybody else call them offsites?
That's a corporate American thing.
In corporate America, they always say, "Oh, you ought to do an offsite for that." So anyway, but so we're having a meeting not in the office. Is basically what it is. And
it was a conference in a different conference
because I was complaining about the culture within our company, because we had 4 departments rowing in 4 different directions and we weren't getting any there. And so one of our drills was, and I was given the basics of it, was talking about core values. And core values, or what I call non-negotiables, these are the things that you're going to do. And they take precedence regardless of the situation or the person. Mm-hmm. So, and it's so much harder than you think. It's like, I said, let's pick just something simple. So it's a core value that we will answer our phone before the 3rd ring. Mm-hmm. Couldn't get agreement. How about it's a core value that we greet everyone with a smile? Nope. Couldn't get it. So let's say you put a word in the greeting and just say, we're going to greet everyone with, good morning, or it's a wonderful day.
Welcome to Moe's.
Yeah.
You ever seen that?
Yeah.
Do you know about Moe's?
Is Moe's?
Moe's is it's like a Mexican food shop. And when the door opens and you walk in, everybody that's working yells, "Welcome to Moe's."
I was saying, I was thinking similar thing at, is it Pike's Fish Market? Pike's Fish Market is in like Seattle.
Yeah.
And they have a similar thing. I don't know. It's probably not Moe's, but it's something like that. But just to get something that simple, we couldn't agree on it. And it's like, like the engineering department. So, like I'm from sales. So how we talk and address people is important to me. And it's second nature that, it's, have a great day, or, my thing is make it a great day. But they couldn't agree on that. It's like, no, I'm thinking about business. I don't have time for the superficial things like greeting people with a smile. So as long as someone thinks that's superficial and someone else thinks it's wildly important, you don't have a communal agreement on a core value. So, I like yours. So we'll call your pillars core values for the moment. Yep. And just say, it must be easy to do business with it. So that's something that, like, if you're trying to decide, when to schedule a meeting, and you have someone, we open the office at 8:00, say, and someone says, I need to be at work at, I have 7:30. So to make it easy to do business with you, you set the schedule according to that client and say, okay, I'll meet you at 7:30, or I'll come to your house, or we'll meet at Starbucks, or, we'll put it on your way to work. So, but everybody's got to be thinking that way, that the goal is to make it easy to do business with Paradigm Financial and all of the subsidiaries. So that core value's got to drip, drip, drip. And so, we're part of that. Paradigm Playbook is part of that organization. So that has to be a core value for us. So, and we're doing a podcast and doing some consulting and things, but we're scheduling around, podcast has to be easy for everybody or they won't listen to it. So it's available when you want to listen to it. It's available in the quantity you want to listen to. If you want 10 minutes, you get 10 minutes. And now we're even starting episodes that are only 2 minutes, just to try to make it easier for that customer.
Yeah, I think there's another piece of culture that is a dangerous the dangerous concept, which is conflict. And I think a lot of companies and a lot of people avoid conflict at all costs. And I think that's a very dangerous cultural thing, to avoid conflict. I think conflict is a necessary piece. And that goes right back to Patrick Lencioni on the 5 dysfunctions of a team, right? That fear of conflict. But I never want someone to be unwilling to give me radical candor in the organization, right? That's do the right thing, in my opinion. Do the right thing. If you know it to be the right thing to have that conversation, you also then have the responsibility to have that conversation.
And that type of communication starts at the top.
Yep.
And it has to be set that, so first of all, so people pick up on things they see, not things they're told. So if you want someone to learn something, demonstrate it. And we do this in sports all the time. It's like, if you describe, there was a narrative giving with, you take 2 strings, you put the right one over the left one, and then take the left one back over the right one, pull both sideways, a long narrative and what they're getting around. This is how you tie a shoe.
Yeah.
And so we do that in baseball all the time. But if you want to tell somebody how to throw a split finger fastball without demonstrating it, it's very difficult. So the same thing is true in culture. You can tell people that we're, easy to do business with, but until you demonstrate it and you go out of your way to demonstrate it, then you can't expect anybody to buy in. They're not automatically going to link into this because you said it. And sometimes we do that thing, and it's, you say something and then you can't hear what's going on in other people's mind. But what it is this guy's a little crazy. This guy's a little bit nuts. So anyway, so core values, I think, are, I think if you can start with the simplest things, I'll give one more example. Good friends of mine owned Woodward Camp, which was in its day was the largest gymnastics camp in the world, and still maybe the largest action sports camp, skateboarding, scooter, the biggest. And one of their core values is that nobody walks past a piece of trash on the ground.
Yep.
And so, it's like, okay, but until I was walking the campus with the owners of the company and we stopped at least 10 times to pick up trash, did I understand what they meant? They're serious about this trash picking up thing. And that's what keeps the camp beautiful. And everybody did it because the owners did it. So that's that trickle down effect.
Yeah, I think I've told this story before on the podcast, but my father was a executive attorney in a corporate setting, and he wrote on a board, everyone makes the coffee. And I don't know if you're familiar with legal, but lawyers didn't always make the coffee. Yeah. It was not part of their role. But in his organization, everybody made the coffee, and he's the first guy that if he finished the pot in the office, he's making the coffee, right? And it was just that methodology of that job is not anybody's, it's everybody's. And so the mentality to that, again, to your point, like he could have said that and never done it.
Right.
But he did it and everybody did it.
Yeah. And probably 2 years down the road and, someone's making coffee, it's their first day there and it's natural. Everybody sees it. It's don't realize how difficult a little thing like that was to get across and to build that cultural, touch point. So I'll go to my third on my list. And that is the good of the community. It's got to be good for everybody. So we're, what was it? 3 Musketeers, one for all and all for one, and that's, in sports, we say, the name on the front of the jersey is more important than the name on the back. So it's everybody pulling in the same direction to get us there. So that means compliance with the core values, regardless of your opinion of the core values. So it's, we say, 70% agreement, 100% commitment. And it's the same thing. That's where you're going with your core values. And all those core values have to be built around what's good for everybody.
Help us grow by sharing and tagging the Paradigm Playbook podcast on social media. We value your support. Yep.
So if you're building core values that are going to get the stakeholders, the owners, you're focused on that, then that's not creating core value that's good for everybody. I like the story, and I can't think of his name, but he was the CEO of Southwest Airlines. Mm-hmm. And he says, my only job is to take care of my employees. Because if I take care of my employees, they take care of my customers, and my customers take care of my stakeholders. So it's like, okay, so, Tony Hsieh at Zappos, it was the kind of same thing. If anybody's read this book, Delivering Happiness, it's a neat story. But you'll walk in there at any given time and you'll see 3 people over in the corner singing a song. And, when you hear it and you can see the videos and they're doing it, isn't this a waste of time? Isn't it? And then the phone rings and 3 people jump to see who can get that phone first. And they answer that phone with the happiest sound, the happiest hello you can possibly imagine. So it's the same thing. You make your employees happy, they make your customers happy, and the customers deliver the return that makes all stakeholders happy.
Yeah. No,
so I like the community aspect of it.
What do you got next?
The last one is, so none of these stand alone.
No, correct. It's all together.
So the next one is the focus on people. And it is a people thing. So, so you have convinced me, and I very much believe in your teachings of you got to know your numbers, and you got to answer to your numbers, and you got to answer to your business, but you have to be directed towards the people. So whether it's the employee or the customer, you have to be so focused on the people that you develop this culture of, it's when someone says something negative or nasty to you, you're immediately going to the point with, okay, what's the problem? How can I help them? Not, I'm going to get even. Mm-hmm. And so this culture of balance, of keeping everybody happy, it doesn't work to make one person ecstatically happy when 3 people are miserable.
True.
So the community and the focus person to person, I think one of the difficulties about trust is you and I develop a trust, mm-hmm. and then Niall and I develop a trust, but it's not the same. So that when you and Niall then go to develop a trust, it's, okay, we've got 3 different trust levels going on here. So that there's got, I call it this interrelationship of relationships, mm-hmm. that, and I'll blame the old fashioned org structure. So everybody's heard me complain about corporate America, and I spent a lot of years in it, and I appreciate everything it did for me. But one of the things is it does level, people in a way that not all people are always treated identically. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean identical in pay or compensation or benefits or anything, that it's just in the human treatment of people to people. So if you're treating me better than you're treating Niall, then there's a mismatch in there on the people level.
It's all good. I break both your stones.
Yeah. No, he doesn't treat either of us well, does he? No, he treats us all very well. So,
no, and I think there's a reality to it, right? And this goes to the chain effect, right? You're only as strong as your weakest link in all areas. And if you start treating someone like they're the weakest link, they're certainly going to be that. And so if you're not interacting with your people or those that are with you in the responsibility of success, then something's going to fall out. And when that chain breaks, you got a world of problems that you probably didn't need. The other thing I'll say in my world, and I learned this through coaching children in sports, is that it's very obvious when you coach a kid that they don't know what they don't know, right? People use that expression all the time. You don't know what you don't know. But with children, they've not been exposed to it. So there's no possible way they could know it, right? Now I'll use the way you approach a ground ball in baseball as an example. And we try and teach them from a young age to set their feet right, left, field the ball, right, left, throw the ball if they're a right-handed individual, and what that angle looks like and all that. But when it comes game time, right, and there's a hard hit ball at them and they don't get those feet down, and coaches and it's like, hey, remember your footwork. It's that positivity to it and that coaching through it. And so I've spent a lot of my career hiring younger people because I believe in lifting while I climb. So I don't just want to hire constantly experienced people. I want to teach them, and I want to create that success for people. And so we'll be in meetings at different times, and somebody will say something, and I'm like, missed that one. You don't know what you don't know. Let me explain this differently. And I think if you take that 5 seconds to explain it to someone, that 5 minutes to explain it to someone, in some cases, you're progressing someone along, as opposed to saying, you don't know what you're talking about, don't say that, right? And I think there are a lot of people out there, specifically in the corporate America, which is like, that's above your pay grade kind of thing, right? Very military expression. That's above your pay grade. That's above your pay grade. And okay, well, if you ever want to accelerate your pay grade, then you need someone to replace you. So you might as well start teaching people what you know.
Yeah. And I think, obviously a very corporate thing that has come into play, through the structure of org, and the fact that, they're a level 2 employee or they're a C-suite employee, so all these things that we do just by the way we talk, but the communication is, and it's the step of learning that is teaching. Until someone can teach it back to you, you can't be 100% sure that they've captured it in the way that you meant it. Mm-hmm. And we say things all the time, and everything from baby boomers to Gen Z, everybody has a different way of learning. And we have to recognize that and make room in the organization so that people, all fit in. And at the same time, you do everything you can to bring up the next generation. But you can't forget about those, as a baby boomer, I'm particularly sensitive for all those that write us all off. And because, we learn things in a different way. And the things that are expected or assumed with the younger generation may not be real in my world. So I think you have to be thinking about and set up those relationships. So when I talk about the interrelationship of relationships, that's this network matrix look at everything that is different than a hierarchy. And that decision is at this level. Well, and it's getting more and more, big business comes out of small business, and it's all the biggest businesses from Amazon to SpaceX to they're all entrepreneurial thinking that has a culture of growth. And it's why, Google had, their I forget what they called it, 20% of your own time, 20% of your time you can spend working on an idea that you think would be good for the company. So they have a culture of stimulating creativity and innovation, and everybody knows it, but it comes from the top. And it says, take time to do that. Who was it that said, the problem with your company is your people don't have time to look out the window. I forget who that was, but that's one of the things where you see somebody out just sitting at their desk, but looking out a window, maybe that's the time to applaud them. Maybe that's the culture you want. You want to say, okay, that guy's thinking of a way to improve my business. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. You were talking about some of the different ways of learning and the different pieces. I think there's like a style that everybody has, right? Everybody has a different style. And one of the things that we talk about in sales a lot, and this is a cultural thing for our company, is I can sell a certain way. You can sell a certain way. And I'm your mentor, right? And you see me be successful selling how I sell, so you try and be me. Mm-hmm. And that's a fail every single time, right? It is it's that in between the lines teaching that matters. Like, no, don't present it the way I presented it. Present it how you would present it, but present the concept of the topic in that manner, right? Understand that bigger picture, because I'll sit with budding sales guys all the time and they're like, well, I used your phrase. And I'm like, you have to own that phrase and make it your phrase if you want it to be successful. And so part of our sales culture is understand, we call arrows in the quiver, whatever you want to understand, all the different things that we say, but you can't try and sell like I would sell. You have to sell how you would sell, but use the knowledge and the concepts that we're teaching there. And so there's this cultural piece that we have, which is, no, be you, sell like you.
Yeah. And the same thing in the other direction. And I made this mistake, and I think we talked about this before, is that it's like, I'm a great salesman and I want to make you just like me because I want you to get all the benefits I did. So I'm trying to shape you to be me, and I should be trying to shape you to be the best you can be. And so it goes in both directions, but the culture of sharing and, and one of my points is the communication that goes on in the middle of the culture is it's neither one of praise or criticism. So I like the 1 minute manager, so it's like, a minute to praise, a minute to criticize, and a minute to celebrate. So, let's move on, but you can't be afraid of that. Difficult conversations, what do you call them?
Fear of conflict.
The fear of conflict. And I always call it the sweaty palm conversations. It's like, I don't want to have that. So I put off that. And, at the end of the sweaty palm conversations, that's where accountability lives. Yep. And so if you're not having that sweaty palm conversation, you're not holding yourself accountable to what you know is the right thing to do.
Yep.
So then how can you expect anybody else to? So, the whole thing about accountability is the beginning of trust, and the culture. And that's the last point on my list is accountability of trust that has to exist. But the first step isn't to expect someone to trust you. And so, trust me, I know what I'm talking about. No, that's not it. The first step is to be trustworthy, so that somebody will trust you. So the only way you get someone to trust you is you have to start making deposits right now to prove that you are trustworthy, and then they will trust. And then when Niall sees you trusting me, then it's building some of my bank account for being trustworthy. And in the future, he will trust me. And then it becomes the matrix of trust. And that's the perfect culture where everybody trusts everybody. Everybody's got this communal look at where we're going. We're all in it, one for all for one. We're the three musketeers, and we're going at it, but it's built on trust. So because we always do, we'll throw another book into it. There's a book, I think it's Jim Collins' book, The Speed of Trust. I think it's Jim Collins' book, but we'll make a note of that and double check, and I'll let you know. But, what he's saying is a company only grows at the speed of trust. And that's true for a small business and a large business. And every time I hear someone, so like I talk a lot about training. You're building people up and you're building. So as you do that, aren't you afraid that they're going to get so good that they're going to go off and go on their own and compete against you? And so, and I think you told me this before, what's worse than training up someone that competes with you, or having an incompetent person that you can hang on to.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense. So neither fit, the attitude fits into the culture. The culture has to be that you all grow together. And if people leave, they leave. But if they stay, they're growing with you and for you.
And Richard Branson, I think, has the best quote on that whole thing, which is, teach people well enough so that they could do it on their own, and treat them well enough so that they never want to.
Yeah. Perfect. And it's another one, I'm going to do a 2-minute drill on the book Drive. And so Daniel Pink talks about what people are looking for in a job, and above pay and benefits, it's autonomy, mastery, and purpose. So, they want control, they want to get better, and they want to be doing it for a reason.
Yeah.
So that's what has to be the underlayment of the culture in your business.
All right. I think we've exhausted it today, Steve.
It's anybody that wants, it's a simple 3-page white paper, but anybody that wants it, reach out to us at Paradigm Playbook, and, go to the website, shoot me a note, and I'll send it on to you.
All right, everybody, that's a wrap on today's show. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, share it with friends, share it with colleagues, share it with people that are have the entrepreneurial itch.
That's right. Make it part of your culture. Thank you, everyone. Make it a great day.
If you have any business-related questions, feel free to send them over to us at playbook@paradigmplaybook.com. We're here to help.